We're in section 3.7%, of change. And as I talked about last week, even adults have challenges with these types of things. So it really takes some effort to understand this stuff. The percent of change. The percent something changes really is based on the amount it changes. And we're going to see a proportion like we have in previous percent problems. So we're going to look at the amount something changes and compare it always to the original amount. So the amount something changes over the original equals a percent. Percent can be written as a number over 100. In your textbook, you might see n over 100 written as p%. And when you sometimes have found a decimal value, remember you've had to change that to a percent by moving the decimal to the right 2 places. So we'll stick with this proportion, and the amount something changes is the difference between the new amount and the old amount. We always take the new amount and subtract the old. And when we do, we have the amount changed. Sometimes that's a positive value if something increases, and sometimes it's a negative value. Okay, so take this down. An increase of 2 to 5 is what percent increase? So right now in your mind, I see some of you thinking, and I know what you're thinking, I think, and that is, when you go from 2 to 5, what have you done there? You've increased by what, Olivia? By 3. So really what you did was, in your mind, you found the difference between 5 and 2, right? 5 minus 2, there's 3. So there's new 5, take away the old 2, and we have this 3, right? And then what was the original amount? Olivia? 2 was. So we put that over 2, okay? And then we can complete this proportion by writing it equals some number over 100, some percent over 100. And then we can do what you were just kind of holding in your head, 3 over 2 equals n over 100. And now you've got your choices in solving this, right? There are 2 choices, and I bet you all want to do one way, but can we name the 2 choices? What's one of the ways that we could solve this right now? Will? You can just blow it up, and that's probably what we all want to do, right? It's nice and easy. And what's the other choice, Spencer? What do we call that other way that you could solve a proportion? We keep using Jake.
Divide.
Well, you could divide 3 by 2, but then you'd have to do something else, I guess. Spencer? Good. Cross products property. We could multiply 3 times 100 and 2 times n. But because blowing them up is so easy, we're going to multiply by what factor? Good, 50. 2 times 50 is 100. So 3 times 50 gives us our percent, and that is
150%.
n equals 150%. Good. So does that seem reasonable to you that when you go from 2 to 5, you have changed by 150%? If you change by 100%, you actually double a number, do you see? If we go from 2 to 4, you've changed it by 100%. And now look at this, we went from 2 to 5, so we went more than 100%, 150%. Okay, and it was positive. So let's try this one. How about a decrease from 25 to 21 is what percent decrease? Please jot this little question down and see if you can write the proportion. So the tricky thing about our amount changed here is we said it was new, take away old. So what's the new number here, Audrey?
21.
It's actually 21, good. And we're going to take away the original 25, but what do we put in the denominator?
21.
Is that the original? 25 is, right, so we put it over 25. Equals n over 100. And 21 minus 25, Aiden?
-4.
Good, so here we are, 7th grade in a negative year, right? Lots of negatives show up. And now we can, again, blow this up, right? Because it's a nice 25 in the denominator. So what are we going to multiply the denominator by to get to 100?
4.
25 times 4, so negative 4 times 4 is negative 16%. Good. So we had a negative 16% change, or a decrease of 16%, we could say. Okay? You do not need to write this one down. This is a sample right out of the textbook. You can see it there, but you can just watch here right now. A school had 825 kids last year. This year they have 870 students enrolled. So find the percent of increase to the nearest 10. So without actually writing this problem down, how would we find the percent of increase? We would start with what? Anyone else? Because I've already heard from Will. Okay, Will, what do we start with? 870, good. Minus 825. And does anybody know what that difference is? What is it? 45, good job. And what would we put that over? 45 over? Everyone, the original was?
878.
No, 825 was the original. Okay? And that's just exactly what they do. They have the 870 minus the 825, which is 45 over 825, will equal their percent. We're writing percent as n over 100, because that's what percents are, a number over 100. Okay, they wrote it as p%. So they went ahead and solved this and found that it was a 5.45% increase. Okay, let's see if we can answer this follow-up question. What if the enrollment this year is 990 students? So last year it was 825. And this year it's now 990. Find the percent. Go ahead and create a proportion that will help you find this percent right now. What does your proportion look like? You can tell me. Colin.
990.
Okay, good.
Minus 825.
Good job.
825.
And over the original 825 on the bottom. Excellent. There you go. So the numerator, 990 minus 825, is showing us the amount of change, right? And what is that change? 990 minus 825. Is it? You have it? Colin, do you have it?
165.
Who agrees? 165? Good. So we have 165 over 825. And some of you like to divide right here and just change that decimal number to a percent, which could be done, right? Or we could use our cross products. In the end, we will have to divide at some point. And does anyone have the percent? Do you have it, Stuart? What do you have? Anyone else agree? Did you reduce this fraction, Stuart?
Yeah, I divided it by...
Good job. So when you go through this reducing, either by cross product or reducing and then blowing it up, you find 20%. N equals 20%. Good. Okay, the second little topic today is finding a new amount. What if you've had a percent increase or a percent decrease? When you find a new amount, remember the original amount was 100%. So if somebody says there's a, 2% change, then I would take my 100% and add the little 2%. 100 plus 2 is 102%. And then, as we've already learned, we can multiply a percent to an original to get a new amount. If you want to know 102% of $35 or whatever, you just multiply. You multiply 1.02 times 35. So we're going to try this with a couple of real questions, and then you're on your way today. Okay, here we go. We have a car. A new car costs, this is a really inexpensive car, $14,500. Okay, and decreases by value 15% after 1 year. So what is its value after 1 year? You need to write that question down, and then let's do it. There are two parts to these. And there are other ways of doing this. Actually, they are very much the same, but maybe a different order. But anyway, following our little plan that we just said, the car, which was 100% when you bought it, has now decreased by 15%. So we will take 100% and will we add or subtract the 15%? Izzy, we'll subtract it, right? Good. So we have 100% and we're going to subtract 15%. So our new percent, you can see, is 85%. The car is no longer 100% of what it was last year, 14,500. The car is now only 85% of what it was last year. So who can write the next part of this? How can we find 85% of that car? Emily. Good. And we actually, you say, when you say 85% of 14,500, it's multiplication. Okay? But we do not keep the percent sign in the problem, do we? How do we write 85% as a working number? Lauren?
0.85.
Good, 0.85. So we simply multiply 0.85 times the original amount. And that you could go do over off to the side. I'll just tell you that, or do you have it, Stuart? What do you have?
12,300.
Let's see if you're right. Yes, $12,325, the new amount. So make sure you have this really clearly down in case you face this type of a problem and you want to check the steps out with this. Okay, we'll try one more. You can work on your own and then we'll be on our way. Okay. How about, this is, again, there's not a lot of words, just if 1,100 is increased by 4%, what's the new amount? This is as brief as I could possibly write it. If 1,100 is increased by 4%, what would our new amount be? See, some people are ready to go. Okay, so it's no longer 100% of the old 1,100 that it was, right? What is this new percent it's become? Jake? Oh, you're already, there's no money actually in this problem, it's just 1,100. But what is the new percent? It's no longer 100%, it's 104%, right? 1,100, the original amount, is always the 100%. Originals are always 100%. So we start by adding the 4%. But we now need to find 104% of 1,100. But we never work with a number that contains a percent sign. What would the working number be, Teddy? Yes, you could. It's always two steps. Audrey? 1.04 times 1,100. This is adding the 4% right with the 100%, and your answer would be, anyone? Anyone have it? Lauren?
1,144.
1,144. Very good. Okay, questions? I think you have enough to work with, so there you go.